of karma. So the seeds of the outcome are in your own very action, and sometimes it is very immediate. You can see it right away, and sometimes it's maybe next day, next week, or next life.
No, this is pretty profound. Punished by the sin, I think.
Yeah, that is the Hindu view. So there is not like a vindictive God or a vindictive. There is actually no God. I mean, you can say one view of Hinduism is, we talked about being born a sinner and lower caste and all of that. It's all the time frame. Just, I would say a one sentence summary is uncover your true nature.
Yeah.
In your own way, in your own time. So in uncovering the truth of yourself, you may stumble across God. You may not stumble across God, but at least you know who you are. And actually that's the first part of the whole Gita teaching. I mean, you talked about this man was not only just despondent, but he was outright depressed. I mean, you could say he came right out of the psych ward. He was totally depressed, and Krishna gets him out of that depression. So he has to, before he talks about the techniques and the 4 yogas, he first has to cure him. Right. So you asked Robert the question, so what happens to Arjuna at the end of the Gita? At the end of the Gita, he's cured. And he himself says, Nashto moha. My delusion is evaporated.
Yes, yes.
And I will now fight
He becomes
with vigor.
one with the divinity.
That is how, because you see, this knowledge, his self-knowledge, has liberated all this delusion that he was suffering under as to who these cousins were, who he was. He knew that, but he forgot that. So Krishna just shows him that, and he says, my delusion is gone, and I'm liberated by that knowledge. So that's what now informs his action. So this is just a mere step in his life. So the teaching of the Gita informs him. And I think it's every human beings, I think it's part of the meaning of being human is to pursue that imperative of your consciousness to uncover its deepest depth. Wonderful. And I think that's
beautiful,
the whole
integral. Beautiful. Now, I got one more thing that I got to get through here. There are 2 types of inquiries, and again, you got to educate me. I'm going to give you some bits and pieces that is not in sequence. We have 2 types of inquiries that I understand. One is the scientific inquiry, which is observable, measurable, quantifiable, repeatable. That's what science is all about. Understanding relative motion type, all of those things. The other type of inquiry is what you teach, as I understand, or faith. Believe in certain things, assuming they are worldly fundamental principles. You simply believe in it, everything will be okay. Don't ask logical questions because you can't answer those questions, right? So keeping those 2 in mind, those 2 approaches to inquiry of human mind, I always think about Einstein's the concept of Denkenheit, thinking process, right? He doesn't, he did some thinking without doing the experiments. If we were to somehow imagine the Earth, which goes at 1,000 miles an hour on itself, and about 50,000 miles an hour around the sun, if it were to come to a grinding halt, logically that Earth will merge with the sun, the nearest star, and if you were to assume the same thing for the sun, which goes at a tremendous speed in the Milky Way, that it comes to a grinding halt, it will merge with another star of which it is a sun, S-O-N, sun, and you keep on going. The 2 inquiries of logic, science and technology, and of faith will merge into, I believe, what we understand as a black hole, undefinable, inconceivable, immeasurable, non-quantifiable, infinite, and the opposite of infinite is probably where we will never be able to, which we will never be able to understand.
And what is it you'd like me to add to this?
Do you want to add something more to it? Go ahead.
Okay. Well, leaving the black hole for a minute, I do think a lot about, as I think we all have to, the relationship between the scientific, rational, modern, Western Enlightenment approach, right, which is pretty much in charge of our world, increasingly around the world, but certainly the Europe and North America, and increasingly everywhere else. And the other side being something that is not that, and in religious terms it would be faith, but in poetry it's imagination, or in art it's imagination, and in lots of parts of our life it's intuition, it's feelings, and maybe all of those words are necessary characteristics of a non-scientific, but not anti-scientific point of view. Well, this is the romantic side. These two, in fact, one of the ways to describe the program in which I teach, philosophy, cosmology, and consciousness, is we are trying to reconcile and synthesize and, in a certain sense, go the next level in this struggle between Enlightenment thinking, which is extremely important and made great contributions, and we all depend on it every day, and this other way, which is intuitive, imaginative, poetic, feeling life, the aesthetic, affective, all those that have been driven out of this science in order to make a certain achievement, which is very positive and important. But the price that was paid and is still paid is the loss of this other dimension. So we are now trying, now we're not the first people to do this, this has been going on for several hundred years, but we are trying to draw from those people who are very good at the Enlightenment, very good at romantic, and then especially drawing on those people who are helping us put the two together, not just side by side, but to have our rational thinking filled with imagination and affect and passion and devotion and all these good quality terms. So that's really what we're about in our program.
So if a few students are interested to understand and go further into that inquiry, they ought to call you, right? Look up CIIS
good people to call,
on the web, and then they'll find you, Dr. Robert McDermott, right?
Yes, and many others.
And many others there.
Yes.
So with that, let's kind of wrap this thing up. So first of all, I want to really, really appreciate to having had the opportunity to be with you, Prasad, and Dr. Robert McDermott, to have the conversation, and especially with two scientific minds and one philosophical mind sitting there. And we are pretty much ignorant of what you teach, and we think we understand, we haven't got there yet. Someday we'll get there.
Not my experience of the two of you, but that's fine.
In any case, it has been an absolute pleasure, Prasad, and I really loved it, and I hope this generates some additional inquiries in the minds of viewers. And let me pass this on to you for you to make some concluding quick remarks, and then pass it on to Prasad, and we'll wind this thing up.
Okay. Well, thank you, Kal, for bringing us together. This is all your great idea. And Prasad and I obviously have enjoyed it, and we hope that people viewing it have enjoyed it and have found it stimulating and maybe leading in certain directions of inquiry and depth and tolerance. These are all good things. So we thank you very much. And of course, I thank you, Prasad, my pal of some years now, for your great wisdom, which combines, I think, very much what we were just talking about, is, yes, a man of science and business, but also a man with this great affinity for the deep spiritual teachings of the Hindu tradition. So anyway, why don't you say a word or two?
Thank you very much, Robert, and thank you, Kal. I think it's been a wonderful conversation, and you asked some very thought-provoking questions, and thank you for sharing your rich insights. It's a great topic, and thank you again.
Great, good.
Once again, thank you, all the viewers. Thank you very much. Hopefully, you'll be able to call on Dr. Robert McDermott and put him to work. Thank you.